Shalom. No praises to Yahweh Bashem El Shai Shem Malakah Dash. Double honors unto the elder apostles of great also well. And shalom to all four. This is Maya Allah. This is news and prophecy news update. The date today is the 16th of July, 1984. Well, it might as well be 1984, but 2026. Excuse me. All right, and I got a couple articles here. I want to build on. I'm just going to read it, extrapolate bits and pieces from each of them. All right, just to build on a point as far as prophetic event unfolding before our eyes and really showing the time is short. The devil is coming down with great wrath because he knows there's a short time. The four ways of destruction are being ready to made loose. And yeah, man, the time is being sped up for the elect's sake. All right, so the first article I got is from NPR.org. Headline reads: ICE is giving local police big money to help with immigration enforcement. This is from May the 5th, 2026. And I'm reading this article and the next one to build a point for what's happening today. All right. So I'll just read from this point. So it says, how much money ICE had promised local police nationwide. The Department of Homeland Security is promising $100,000 for new vehicles and potentially tens of thousands more in equipment and law enforcement agencies who sign on. It also says it will reimburse salaries and benefits of officers in the program and touts the potential for bonuses based on an officer's success in finding undocumented people, similar to a bounty hunter system. So they're incentivizing um, basically nationwide for police officers to get into action as far as what ICE is doing. All right, and the more you can, which really is kind of creating, gonna fester into potentially gonna fester into, you know, police being crooked for the sake of getting those incentives paid out to them. There's a recent report from Forward.us, an organization advocating for criminal justice and immigration reform, estimated that if every police agency receives what DHS promised, total amount the total could amount to as much as $2 billion in 2026 alone. The 287G G program has existed for decades, but Noreen Shah sounds like a Pakistani or Indian director of government affairs for immigration at the ACLU says the money is unprecedented. We've never seen this financial incentive scheme exist in any way with this program, and Congress never intended for ICE to be swooping in to these local jurisdictions and offering them money in exchange to participate. Shah says police departments that are strapped for cash, this could be a lifeline for them. That appears to be pretty easy. All right. On the agency's website, ICE refers to the program as a force multiplier. And by its own description, the Trump administration has supercharged it. When Trump began his second term, there were 135 of these partnerships. Now there's more than 1,700. At this confirmation hearing, one that's damn near like man, it's like 12 times the amount. 12 times the amount. All right, So it says, you know what? My mind won't let me rest. Mm, yeah. So yeah, it's about 12, 13 times the amount. Okay. So reading on it says at his confirmation hearing in March, DHS security Mark Wayne Mullen signaled he wants to see an even greater shift to working closely with local police after the agency's violent approach in cities like Minneapolis left two U.S. citizens dead. Polls show most Americans thought the administration gone too far. So let me read this one again. So it says at his confirmation hearing in March, DHS Secretary Mark Wayne Mullen signaled he wants to see an even greater shift to working closely with local police after the agency's violent approach in cities like Minneapolis left two, two. So basically, they're advocating that's their way of circumventing it due to two U.S. citizens dying. All right, so bear this in mind because this is where we're actually going. All right, so let me scroll down. Yeah, let me read this. So I'll steamroll through it. So this is from GadgetReview.com. Immigration checkpoints set up across the U.S. The shocking new papers, please mandates snaring domestic travelers. All right. So it says more than 213 million Americans live inside a zone where federal agents can stop your car and demand proof of immigration status. No international border crossing required. The zone stretches 100 miles inward from every land and coastal boundary, swallowing 10 entire states and cities like New York, Los Angeles, and Chicago. The 2013 indie game Papers, Please turned Cold War document checks into an uncomfortable simulation of bureaucratic control, a premise explored in controversial video games that push players into morally fraught by bureaucrat, bureaucratic. Excuse me. I just said it 2 seconds ago, and now I say read on that premise feels less like friction every year. All right, so let's jump down. So we kind of know what it said. Uh, so I'll just jump down to there. What the Supreme Court authorized in 1976 and what reportedly happens at these stops are two different things. The Martez Fu- Fu- Futi decision permitted brief detention, a question or two about citizenship, nothing more. No routine vehicle searches, no fishing expeditions, Yet the Cato Institute Checkpoint America project documents a pattern of extended stops questioning unrelated to immigration, racial profiling, and canine deployments without uh, a- articulable suspicion. So it says the American Immigration Council has separately flagged growing border patrol visibility in interior metro areas like Charlotte and Atlanta. All right, places most people could never associate with border checkpoint. So this rolling out really is being done. As you can see, a lot of it doesn't make sense, but it makes sense in that they're setting up a grid whereby throughout the whole of America, you can't travel only so far without being stumbling into this checkpoint. And these boundaries basically are setting up a set of normalcy bias, all right, whereby people now become you know uh, desensitized to these checkpoints, and it becomes a thing of normalcy, all right. But in reality, what it's setting up is the infrastructure for the MOTB, all right, checkpoints whereby you're allowed to operate through getting in and out. And why I say it's for the MOTB, because they require identification to proceed through them. All right, and we know what's going on over here in the UK with a digital ID that's been steamrolled through by King Charles, and also it was, also spearheaded or doubled down upon by the limiting of under 16s access to social media. All right, so in order for you to access the internet, it's gonna require you to have a digital ID. All right, so inadvertently or advertently, as they wanted to do. All right, I don't even know if I'm using that word correctly, but they've done it on purpose to the point where if you want to access the internet, you have to prove that you're over 16. All right, and it's as simple as that. All right, that's what they're really telling you. That's the language that's being relayed. To the point being, on all scales, this is another access point for them to use the MOTB, and as a progress, you're going to see it all the more. So it says your rights at the checkpoint and the limits that actually matter. Let me jump down to, it says, actually, let me read it. The law draws clear lines at these stops, but knowing them in advance is entirely your responsibility. Agents may ask about your citizenship or immigration status. You have a right to remain silent. Don't exercise it may extend the stop while agents verify your status another way. All right, and we just read up there where it said about them, manipulating the laws to where they can use brief detention. All right, and basically go on fishing expeditions to determine who you are. So if you don't identify when you really do, I'm not telling you this advice, but I'm reading between the lines. If you don't identify yourself, then basically they're looking to take the piss for the sake of their, getting the answers they want. You have a right to remain silent, though exercising it may extend the stop while agents verify your status another way. What they cannot do is pivot to investigate unrelated crimes, drugs, for instance, or some of the canine unit without specific suspicion that goes beyond immigration concerns, which, is a fishing expedition, all right? And they're likely going to do that. Turning around a clearly marked checkpoint is a federal felony under 18 USC 758. The rules are narrow, they also matter enormously. So if you see a checkpoint afar off and you decide to bust a UE, all right, guess what? You've committed a federal offense. So it's better for you to just drive forward and go through it. But I mean, you know, it also depends, how do you distinguish why someone's taking a U-turn? How close do you have to be? That begs a question within itself. Laid on top of the highway stops, real ID enforcement adds another checkpoint to your life. So I kind of still went over that. Says it layered on top of highway stops, real ID enforcement adds another checkpoint to your life. Your airport security line, you already dread TSA fine line. New rules in late 2024 create agency-specific enforcement plans, meaning ID requirements may vary depending on location, which agency is running the screening. Foreign passports and USCIS uh, employment authorization cards remain accepted for domestic flights. What happens after May 7th, 2025 for travelers carrying secretly tracking users' non-compliant state IDs remains generally unclear. Or so it shows you there's even an opening there for uh, if you don't fall in compliance within this, it's going to be a potential problem. They haven't determined yet. Papers, Please made players uncomfortable by design. The discomfort was the point. Whether routine document checks on American highways and in airport queues represent necessary security, something else entirely depends on who's answering and increasingly on who's being asked. So this is something that's only going to open the door for the MOTB. So now this is the last article I'm going to touch on just to compound upon that point. My phone overheats, man. This heat wave is just had an effect on this gizmo. So anyway, so this is from mediaite.com. So it says Trump title reads, so a headline reads, Trump demands ICE restart traffic stops despite two fatal shootings in a week. And this is two fatal shootings happened when? A couple months back in May. Right, so we're seeing a trend here. Right, a form of resistance, um, basically, civilians being killed, innocent civilians being killed, and them just continuing as business as usual. And it's to no great public uproar, should I say? All right, so it really is, building upon that, docileness of the people. It won't happen on my watch. All right, so it says President Donald Trump demanded Immigration and Customs Enforcement resume traffic stops a day after agency mostly paused the practice. Trump's demand, issued via a Wednesday morning Truth Social post, comes after ICE was involved in two fatal traffic stops within a week. The president wrote, "The men and women of ICE are doing a great job, one that has to be done. Crime is way down in America, in many cases with numbers that haven't been seen in decades. The open border policy of sleepy Joe Biden allowed 25 million people to pour into our country unchecked and unvetted. Many were criminal, and we have to get them out. In order to do this, we must be strong, tough, and smart, and we cannot give up one of ICE's most important and effective crime fighting tools, the traffic stop. One we do, and that makes me think of the book of Ezekiel, through that traffic have many riches. Traffic is a major way for America to make accumulate wealth. Once we do, we are playing right into the criminals' hands. The radical left, the Democrats, well, Democrats, um, like to see this done, but it won't happen on my watch. Us be judicious, fair, and smart, and go back to do your very important job. Keep those crime stat records coming. Remember, and you are loved and respected in America. Thank you for your attention, Mr. President. All right, so it says ICE has come under intense criticism after agents were told Tuesday to suspend most traffic stops while until further notice and work with other law enforcement agencies, when vehicles are involved in their arrests. So they're bringing in. Really, it's kind of like they're winding down the ice thing. It seems kind of bringing it into you know police departments to only bring about a police state. All right, people. ICE is a foreign image in the minds of most people, but the police is very, something that you're used to. All right, and it goes into the 1033 program about the which goes back many, over a decade, um, where it talks about nearly probably 15 years or so, where it talks about the militarization of the police, right? Them being offered, and Trump can basically double down on that by giving them arsenal based upon the laws that are being enacted. Immigration agents fatally shot Lorenzo Salgado Arroyo on July 7th in Houston uh, during a traffic stop. Salgado Arroyo, 52, was not the agent's intended target. On Monday, ICE agents shot and killed another man, 26-year-old Joan Sebastian Yohan, I believe that probably Yohan Sebastian Guerrero in Maine, also during a traffic stop. The Colombian man who held permission to work in the United States was not the intended target of the IS operation. The Department of Homeland Security later claimed Guerrero had tried to flee, prompting the ICE agent to open fire out of fear for public safety, which doesn't make sense if the guy's running away. Hey, but it is what it is. So we can see this is building up with these checkpoints. So let's read a few scriptures, close out Lord, we be edified. So this is the book of Micah 2 and 1, which reads, woe to them that devise iniquity and work evil upon their beds. When the morning is light, they practice it because it is in the power of their hand. Right, let's talk about Esau Edom, the so-called white man who rules the earth presently. All right, when he has the power in his hands, what does he do? He basically executes his uh, evil ways. All right, we're seeing it manifest up and down the country, up and down the world. All right, and they convert fields and take them by violence. All right, and we see with those traffic stops, it's basically a way to infringe on the people's rights and to convert fields, and ultimately the violence is them people being shot and houses and take them away. All right, because what you're seeing is ultimately going to be a power play, uh, coupled with, you got Bill Gates buying up all America, various different lesser luminaries doing that, and it's for the sake of establishing a new world order. All right, whereby ye shall own nothing and be happy. In order for you to own nothing, that means they need to own everything. All right. So they oppress a man and his house, even a man and his heritage. And that's being done by these so-called Jews claiming to be the children of Israel, when in fact they are not. They're imposters, but they are oppressing us, taking our heritage. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, against his family do I devise evil, from which ye shall not remove your necks, neither shall ye go haughtily, for this time is evil. Right? And this is what we're seeing. You know, the Most High blessed this man with the sword. All right? And as we know, he that live by the Lord take up the sword, same shall die by it. He live by the sword shall die by it. So his blessing is the gift and the curse. All right? It's gifted him everything that he has, but it's also cursed him with a blood debt that only the Lord is going to recompense him. All right? So let me read this to build on that. This is 2 Ezra 15 and 14. Woe to the world, them that dwell therein. Alright, the word woe means destruction. For the sword and their destruction draweth nigh. Alright? The Esau is really gonna show his military capabilities and his technician, tactile use of his blessing in order to only, secure his blessing once and for all. And one people shall stand up to fight against another, and swords in their hands. For there shall be sedition among men, and invading one another. They shall not regard the king nor princes, and the course of their actions shall stand in their power. But this ain't going to be done without, a last stand, all out fight. All right. Esau is really going to show his horns in these last days. Verse 17, a man shall desire to go into a city, and shall not be able. And this is what we see with this manifest, which only is going to be, in the insertion. What all right, the use of the R5, you know. Let me just actually put it onto the thing and realize those comments. Sure. No, not sure. All right, so let's read on. So it says, for because of their pride, the city shall be troubled, and the houses shall be destroyed, and men shall be afraid. All right, Esau's gonna really, show himself who he really is. A man shall have no pity upon his neighbor, but shall destroy their houses with the sword, and spoil their goods because of the lack of bread and for great tribulation. All right. So only these conditions that play out in these last days is gonna push people to the edge, and that's why it speaks of how Shai spoke of um, scriptures around the tip of my tongue. The love of many waxing cold. All right, that's it. So let's close out with this scripture that wraps it with a nice, pretty bow. Job 20 and 11. His bones are full of the sin of his youth, which shall lie down with him in the dust. All right, and this is really the blood debt that this man has hanging over him. All right, going back to the Roman Empire, and really, from his inception, from all the evil he's done against their brother Jacob. All right, which shall lie down with him in the dust. Though wickedness be sweet in his mouth, though he hid it under his tongue, though he spare it and forsake it not, but keep it still within his mouth, yet his meat in his bowels is turned, it is the gall asps within him. He hath swallowed down riches, and he shall vomit them up again. The Most High shall cast them out of his belly. All right. So this man is going to fulfill his is looking to fulfill his goal of a new world order, but in doing so, it's going to be short lived because the Heavenly Father ain't going to allow him to die to digest it, enjoy it. Verse 16, he shall suck the poison of the ass. The viper's tongue shall slay him. He shall not see the rivers, the floods, the brooks of honey and butter. That which he labored for shall he restore, shall not swallow it down. According to his substance shall the restitution be, and he shall not rejoice therein. So that it says he won't even be able to digest it, to eat it. He'll barely be able to swallow it. Alright, because he hath oppressed and hath forsaken the poor, because he hath violently taken away the house which he builded not. Right? Converting fields, taking houses. Alright, and one of the greatest houses he took, alright, is enslaving the heavenly for the apple of the Most High's eye. Alright, the children of Israel. Alright, and that's a heavy judgment that's hanging, lingering over his head. Alright, verse 21, there shall none of his meat be left, therefore shall no man look for his goods. In the fullness of his sufficiency, he shall be in straits. Every hand of the wicked, alright, the word there for wicked, I forget it in the Hebrew, but it basically means laborer. Alright, we close that. Aimal, Aimal, Aimala, Aimal, laborer, sufferer, wretched one. So we're the ones that, our labor, they made no account of our labors, right? We are those laborers, all right? Verse 23, when he is about to fill his belly, the Most High shall cast the fury of his wrath upon him, all right? Which is it's missiles, man. The Heavenly Father, Yahweh, the Lord of hosts, is going to deposit one of his hosts, one of many of his hosts, upon this devil, all right? The main one being those ICBMs that were created for this day, that sword, the pinnacle of Esau's sword, destroying him, all right? Uh, and shall rain it upon him while he is eating. He shall flee from the iron weapon, and the bow still shall strike him through. It is drawn and cometh out of the body, yea, the glittering sword cometh out of his gall. Terrors are upon him. So yeah, with that, I pray you're edified, and that Lord, when you can see that these checkpoints is basically building the lifeblood of this beast system, all right, they intend to establish, whereby they're gonna map out the terrain with checkpoints, all right, checks and balances to basically allow you to go through. And only the ID that's gonna be utilized is that of the MOTB. So you can't get in and around without it. Let alone, the other things that are slated to happen. Let's, watch as well as pray, because the time is short and we're nearly out of it. So with that, I pray you're edified to the next one. Shalom.